whenever we want to go.
Whatever you want, however you want to do it.
Okay, and I'm looking right here.
That's yours.
Hell yeah.
Yours is right there, and we got it right there.
Okay.
The Impodstable.
That's that. We're not gonna do that.
Welcome to
We're
it.
not. We're not calling it
This
that.
is Impodstable 1. Jonny
Okay.
Goes Hard.
We're gonna cut that, and then we're gonna be like record scratch, start over.
Joel Onion.
Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to the Impossible Podcast. I guess we've been on a little bit of hiatus, but we found a studio to record in, and we might be jump starting this thing back up. So today on the podcast, I have Jon Nyberg,
Hello.
aka Jonny Goes Hard, and we are going to be talking about Tough, the DØDS documentary that we just released on the YouTube channel.
Woo-hoo.
So Jonny, thanks for driving down and doing this for me.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Always a good time when I'm in Austin.
Hell yeah. So let's talk DØDS. So
Okay.
we just came out with this documentary. You came to me like 6 months ago, maybe with an idea. You want to talk about what came out of that and what the idea was?
Yeah.
And we'll go from there.
The like original like inspiration came from I just watched a bunch of like Thrasher documentaries. Obviously Thrasher's like the pinnacle of like skateboarding culture. Every real skater will disagree with that and say it's poser because it's popular, but Thrasher is like what kids watch and wear. And I was like, man, like I want there to be something like that for death diving. Obviously the sport is way smaller, which is why I was like, well, since no one's done it yet, maybe I could, but obviously I can't fund something like that entirely by myself. I was like, I need to find a sponsor. We had met a few months prior at the Chattanooga death diving competition. Did we really even talk that much?
So we met at the Chattanooga like US DØDS stop,
Right.
and we were sponsoring that super last minute, and it was just kind of like, let's take a flyer on a cool weird sport. So we went out there with Travis, and we had some banners out there, and then you were like doing the hype talk to everybody. So I don't know if you remember this, but you're like, listen, I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but he's obviously like talking.
The ringleader.
Yeah, and he's got like a mustache, so like he seems older than the rest of the DØDS guys. So I think we said what's up or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
I vividly remember using your product before the competition though, because I had come straight from like doing like media for the DØDS Federation and like hadn't eaten, hadn't had anything. I felt terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, as I was showing up, I was like, I hope someone's got like some Red Bull or something.
Yeah.
And then it happens to be the sponsor of the event is an energy company. I was like, yes. And
what product was that, Jonny?
It was Impossible Energy, specifically sour apple, which at the time was pink.
It is.
I don't know if it's still pink.
I think there is a version out there that's still pink, but that's getting fixed. So
okay.
It
was just incredibly confusing because it looked like the fruit punch. And yeah.
We could talk about it. So we actually, this is not even related to death diving,
No,
but you want to know the story behind that?
I would love to know.
So we had a manufacturer. So we basically, we'd been working on it for a while, and it took way too long. Like everything, it takes twice as much money and twice as long.
Yep.
And we finally got it out, and they were taking really long to deliver the product. Like we'd already paid for a bunch of stuff, and then it was going to go over budget. And they're like, "Yeah, it's because of the packaging, whatever." Turns out, we've finally paid the final invoice. They deliver the product, and a bunch of the things were not to spec. So the colors weren't supposed to be like they were.
Right.
And then the packets were glossy, like they're supposed to match the outside of the packet. And the first version of these came out. So this is matte, and the actual sticks are glossy. And
Right.
You'll notice that. And so they're supposed to match. Signed 25 different pieces of paper that said they were going to match,
Right.
and they deliver something that's different. So we were going to talk to them about it, and I want to say like 2 weeks after we like get the product into the warehouse, they go into receivership and they're going bankrupt. And so like, so they delivered a whole bunch of things wrong, like overcharged us, and then also we're unavailable to
By
talk
the way,
to.
we can't help you because we're going out of it. I wonder why.
Yeah, because they're bad at business. So in some ways it was good because we basically rebuilt the supply chain and have like manufacturers that follow specs and deliver the things that they say they're going to do. But that was one of the first things that like we got the product back and we're like, hey, this is pretty good. And then you see it in you see the two products. You know, this
Right.
one's green, the other one is red packaging, and basically the colors were flipped. So
Almost completely. Like
yeah.
it was like a light green for the fruit punch,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
the sour apple was like a nice light pink.
yeah, so that's gonna be fixed. And actually, maybe I don't know if we're gonna do this on camera or not, but we have some other flavors that we might taste test later. So
Maybe. But anyways,
anyways,
I met you.
So back Chattanooga.
Right. I met you in Chattanooga. And then yeah, I honestly I reached out more so just because like I'm not experienced in like I'm not like a social media influencer, right? I know a lot of people in the cliff jumping and extreme sports community have a lot of like background and like getting reached out to by brands and whatnot. I figured if everyone else can do it, maybe I can too. So I reached out to you again with the idea of like, hey, I want to do like a death diving documentary, but about the like what it really looks like from like the start of a session to the end of it. Because usually when people see a death dive clip, it's just the jump, and so no one has any context of like, do people train for this, or is this just something you do? And obviously, like different people have like different amounts of like time that they put into this. All you have to do is like have your body and a body of water deep enough to catch you. So it's not, yeah. But so yeah, hit you up. I already kind of had a team assembled, or at least part of it. I had people I knew I wanted to go on this trip with. And honestly, we were going to go either way. It was just a matter of like trying to find the right pieces, which I think for the most part we did. I really loved the crew that went out there. It was bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Well, wasn't the first original pitch like you were just doing a trip and you're looking for a sponsor for the trip?
Yeah.
And then we were like, when you're like, oh, I also have this video idea that I want to do at some point. Yeah. And then we're like, let's just do them together.
Just do it together.
Especially if you're going to be in that type
Right.
of location. So we kind of jumped in, assuming people have already watched the film or documentary.
Yeah.
But like, okay, let's talk about like what is DØDS real quick, and
Sure.
then maybe we show them the trailer after that, so
Yes.
they have like an idea of what we're getting ourselves into.
So,
But you want to say like what DØDS is, and we can talk
Absolutely.
about that for a second.
yeah, I'll try and keep it concise. But it's like my favorite thing to talk about. So it's
Okay.
I usually drone on a little bit. But death diving is what most people in the US would say. DØDS is how you say it with an English accent. Every Norwegian is rolling in their grave right now because it's pronounced DØDS. The O with the line through it is its own letter that's not in the English alphabet.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, it's so it's DØDS, not DØDS. But I'm not gonna be pretentious and like every time someone says DØDS, be like, actually,
Yeah.
supposed to say DØDS. But yeah, it is a Scandinavian sport originally. And people all around the world do this. People in New Zealand call it a staple. People in Hawaii call it a bomb. But basically you just play chicken with the water. You fall with your body kind of open. It looks really scary and tough. And at the last second, as late as you can, you kind of tuck into a ball or into what we call a shrimp. So like your hands and your feet hit the water at the same time. And it makes a really big splash when you do it right. And I guess in Norway in like the 60s, a bunch of guys broke into a pool and
Mhm.
like they were like, we're going to show off to our girlfriends by like being the toughest guy and closing the latest. And so that was kind of like the culture around it. And then in, I think like 2012, some people who somehow knew about like their, dads or whatever doing it in the 60s and 70s and whatnot were like, we should like, as like a joke, they were like, we should make this a competition. So
Yeah.
they broke into the same pool again. And there was one guy who was adopted from Guatemala. So they called it a world championship. And yeah, cut forward now to, over 10 years later, it's 2024. So 12 years later, that kind of like little joke has slowly grown into something that actually has like, at least online, a pretty big following. Especially in Norway, when you go out there, like every kid at every local pool is trying it. Death divers are like celebrities over there. And the sport's now grown to the point where they're kind of ready to expand into like the world market. So for the last 2.5 to 3 years, DØDS, the league called, it used to be DØDS Federation, they're now the DØDS Diving League,
Okay.
has been trying to kind of break into the American market. So they've been hosting competitions here. I was just an early adopter of the sport in the US. And so because I kind of have seniority, they work with me a lot to like be an athlete coordinator and stuff. So yeah.
if people haven't seen death diving before, I would say you probably think you're looking at like extreme cliff jumping,
Right.
Or if you don't know what you're looking at, it usually looks like a belly flop competition at first.
Absolutely.
Where you're
Yes.
just like, they're just laying out. And if you're not watching like right before the splash, you think maybe they're
Like,
just like
oh,
hitting it
right.
straight on the.
Or people think that like we messed up a trick and then at the last second you're just like,
Yeah, you're trying to like recover. Right.
right. It's very intentional.
Like the end of the film actually has Gavin doing a
death dive.
Yeah, a death dive, and he kind of does not land
Smacks it.
and it's
Yeah,
it's actually
yeah.
pretty funny. But do you want to, Justin? Can you pull up the trailer? Maybe we'll just watch that real quick so we get an idea of
Oh yeah.
what this thing was actually about.
This trailer's so cool. So crazy. Osbjorg is the toughest person I've ever met.
She's got that like 100-foot.
Yeah, she has a 100-foot death dive.
We'll come back to that later maybe.
Yeah.
The 3, 2, 1 send it is I gave Aaron a cue to throw that in at the end.
Yeah.
I think that like really ties things up. But that's like one of the things you also see. One of the interesting things about death diving to me was how community oriented it is.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's a one-on-one competition. So when you go out to these events, everybody scored individually, but half of it is, maybe you can explain this better, but half of it is basically the attitude you're bringing to the platform.
Absolutely.
And so people are like amping people up. A lot of it is just like the pre-formance, like the stuff you're doing before you're actually jumping.
Totally. And after, like when you come out of the water.
Yeah.
Which I can go into detail about that, but I think I succeed in death diving because of the point when I start thinking of myself as being under the view of the judges.
Yeah.
Is a lot earlier in the time I'm on the platform than most people. They think like right before I jump, I gotta like get the crowd hype.
Yeah.
And then like as soon as I hit the water, I'm good. But for me, like I'm getting judged from like the moment I'm visible to the judges until the moment I'm like out of the water. And so it's like I'm performing that entire time.
Yeah.
Competing that entire time.
Well, and so once you're like on the platform, there's like the whole hype up thing. And then usually before the athlete gets ready to jump, it's
big countdown.
They get the whole crowd.
Yeah.
That's 3, 2, 1, send it. And then people go
Yeah.
and they do whatever they do in the video.
Honestly, I don't know how many people are aware of like why that is something that people do, but
Why
I gotta give credit to Steve-O. He and a lot of his old videos used to say like he made this commitment to himself that like if you start a 3, 2, 1 countdown, that's like it's like a commitment. So it's like once the countdown starts, whatever it was that you were gonna do is like you have to follow through.
Dude, so this is actually this is a great tie-in. So I used to do we've done this a couple of different times where like first time I ever went skydiving. I wanted to go skydiving, but I was terrified. So I was going to this conference and I was like, guys, at the conference, I'm going to go skydiving. Is anyone want to come with me? And I got like 35 people to sign up. And then I was like, oh no, I can't. I actually can't. I have to go now.
Right.
And I can't be the guy that's like nervous. I have to be like, oh yeah, you don't want to go?
What are you
doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah.
You have to go. And then after that, I did the same thing with bungee jumping. And we got like 25 people go bungee jumping. And what's funny with bungee jumping, because skydiving, once you're in the plane, you're going.
Right.
You don't really have control. With bungee jumping, you're on the edge of the bridge. And in a similar fashion, like if you count 3, 2, 1 and you jump, like anybody that jumped at the end of the countdown jumped. And I think we did, first time we went out, we did 25 people. I think we came back the next year, we did another 30 people. We only had one person did not jump.
Okay.
And it's because when they went 3, 2, 1, instead of going,
they didn't
do it. And then once you don't do it, you're in your head forever.
I hate it.
And
I hate it.
It gets harder and harder and harder. And so it's like you count 3, 2, 1 and you go.
Right.
And you make the commitment. It's like as soon as you hit 1, you go.
Oh yeah.
Like that's like a game changer mindset shift. And if you don't do that, you'll never do it because it only makes it harder afterwards.
Yeah. The pre-commitment to like, because like before you jump, you have to decide to.
Yep.
And so even if it's only like a half second before, but like there has to be a moment before you jump where you go like, I'm going to follow through with like, you know, what I want to do.
Yeah.
But especially with death diving, like especially in death diving in competitions, like it's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
It hurt's the wrong word. It's going to smack. Like it shouldn't lead to injury, but like it should, I think.
But sometimes maybe.
But sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
If it's cool.
Right. But especially in competition, like judges are definitely looking, like we already kind of established, like for that showmanship, but they're also looking for like who's the toughest.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely something to be said, especially in like the world championships in Norway, like nobody closes.
Yeah.
It's just straight. Or if they do, it's like no handers. So everyone's just like going knee to head.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about death diving is the height of a competition is between 10 and 15 meters usually, which is like 30 to 50 feet for people that use imperial. But
we're in America.
Yeah,
okay?
we're in America.
You went to Skill International.
I love America. Like I am the most like old fashioned red, white, and blue till I die. But metric system is so much better. It's just easier. Everything's by 10. I get it. And this is coming from the guy that like I grew up wanting Red Dawn to happen.
You're literally getting like kicked out. You're getting deported from Texas right now.
I can't.
For that.
I am Texas.
Yeah.
Whenever I go compete overseas, I don't even bring an American flag. I bring a Texas flag.
Well, it's super weird actually. The DØDS, like all of DØDS, it's like all Europeans and then a huge representative chunk from Texas.
It's because of me.
Oh.
And that's a cocky thing to say. That's a cocky thing to say. But all of my Texas homies hyped me up enough to get me comfortable saying that. I by no means want to ever be a cocky individual, but confidence is something I do want to have.
Okay.
But again, in 2020, I had the first ever like death diving competition that was recognized by the DØDS Federation, and it was in Texas. And
so who's in Texas right now that are DØDS athletes? You got like
Franco, Wes Press, who I don't know if you've ever met him, but
I've seen him on Instagram.
And Franco, Wes, Reagan's not here right now, but Reagan Popoff is a native Texan.
Reagan was sick at the DØDS comp.
Reagan I think is like the pinnacle of like if you wanted to fully commit to taking this like extreme sports, specifically cliff jumping, but like make it an actual like he is an athlete. He's not it's not like a hobby, or it's not something that he's like just like, he is naturally athletic, but he's not like some people are just good at cliff jumping, like Reagan like is in the gym, like lifting weights and like eating healthy, and like he does everything that like you would expect like an NFL athlete to do, but he applies it for cliff jumping. So of course he's the best, and I think he deserves it. But yeah, Reagan's here, or at least he's from here. I claim him as being from here. Obviously me, Wilson, Lefty, Ali. There's quite a few now. Jarrett. You
still claim Matt or not?
No,
Matt was here. I
love Matt, but he definitely would call himself a cliff jumper before he calls himself a death diver. Which honestly, we might want to clarify, or at least for the people watching this that are like a part of the community, and for those who this matters to, cliff jump or diving, I would say, is the overarching like sport, like how like gymnastics has like multiple disciplines, but it's all under the category of gymnastics. Diving has Olympic diving, which is the stuff you see in the Olympics, your like springboard events up to 10 meter events. Then there's high diving, which is like the Red Bull stuff that goes up to 27 meters.
We're going to censor them.
Yeah. The beep.
Yeah.
Diving.
Yeah.
And then there is freestyle cliff jumping, which is what if there's someone who's a like death dives but also lands on their feet, they're probably a freestyle cliff jumper. And that's like Ryan Bean, Reagan Popoff, the whole like NorCal crew. It's just like, and that's the cliffs you usually see online, is like freestyle cliff jumpers. And then the other category would be death divers. And there are a couple people that do both really well, but generally you're either a good freestyle cliff jumper that like knows what death diving is and like does it for like to be funny, or you're like me, which is much more rare, and it's like you death dive and like that's what you do, and then I'll occasionally like land on my feet again, like just to be funny
on accident.
No, really. But
Never landed on a feet on purpose. Yeah.
A couple times.
Yeah.
But like really when my friend, like when I'm with a bunch of cliff jumpers and no one's death diving.
Yeah.
But
make them feel good about themselves.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
Reagan's someone though that can do both like equally as well. He placed second in the death diving world championships, and he's also like he every time I see his social media, he's doing some trick that like has never been done before.
Well, Ryan won the Chattanooga one too.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Ryan Bean is Ryan is almost in a category of his own because he's been so good for so long, and he's pretty young. I met him when he was I think 17.
Yeah,
and he was already doing like triple and quadruple.
He's always doing weird, crazy stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense
at everything.
It's like he's good at skateboarding and rollerblading, mountain biking, trampoline, parkour. Cliff jumping, death diving. But it makes sense. It's like everything he does he doesn't really have free time because all he does all the time is like move. He's in the air, he's flipping, he's working his body out.
Someone told, maybe it was you, maybe someone else, someone told me about Ryan. It's like just his body control.
It's insane.
Like midair, and if you watch him, you know it, but
there's definitely
that's not like something you can always teach. It's just like
I definitely, and I don't think Ryan would disagree with this either. He might, but I do think he is also just naturally gifted with a lot of air awareness that I am athletic. I grew up playing sports, and like obviously I have some air awareness, but there are certain things that he can just naturally pick up.
Yeah.
That I think it's due to his just like obviously, you can grow up in an environment that helps you, but some people just have better air awareness naturally, and I think he is up there for sure.
Yeah. So how long do you think you've been death diving? How many years total?
I would say like seriously in the sense of like thinking about competition when I'm doing it for like 3 years, 3.5, something like that. Oh, Mike does flips, death diver. Sorry, he's gonna get mad if I don't mention him. But yeah, he's from Texas. Mike, I love you. He's just Anyways,
edit that. No, it's okay. It's fine.
That was it.
Yeah. Anybody else?
I'm sure I forgot somebody who's going to text me later.
Yeah.
Like, dude.
And the documentary's got a mix of all those athletes, right? So it's primarily death divers, but there's a couple other athletes just like popped in. I think there was a couple other videographers that were maybe not necessarily doing death dives.
It's definitely but
it was a death dive focused trip.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I want it to be, at least for me and like if I could mold the death diving world, I definitely want there to be a like cohesion with death diving and freestyle athletes. I think sometimes, and I don't think anyone has ever like admitted this, but I've gotten the vibe that there's definitely like some headbutting that happens sometimes because freestyle cliff jumping is generally more gnarly in the sense of like they can do competitions or at least like regularly do sessions from 80 footers, 90 footers. And like death diving can be done from that height, but generally it's like 30, 40, 50 feet. Yeah. And so the people that do twice that height, they kind of look at it and they're like, why do these guys get the funding and the, all the social media attention when it's like, you're just doing like a charismatic based belly flop competition.
Well, so the thing that drew me to death diving was mostly the, I like the aggressiveness of the sport.
Oh, I do too. I love it.
Because if you get to real high dive stuff, it's very like elegant and it's like very technical and it's very, and that's
has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
And
Otherwise,
that's the beauty of it.
You're going to be smoked.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the aggressiveness of DØDS was really interesting to me where it's like you're literally like punching the water. Like it's literally
it's a very like
you're attacking the water when you land.
I feel like it's I don't know. I love like old school ideas of like fun and like playing video games is cool and going bowling and all this. I don't even know, but like
bowling's not that cool.
Yeah, but it's also really cool to like go out into the woods with your friends and like But before I knew about death diving, it was like let's go build a fort and like we're all getting like our hands smacked with hammers and like stepping on nails and stuff, and it's like. It's stuff today that like mothers would be like, no, like my little baby. But like I grew up, I was like, go like get hurt a little bit. Not injured. Like don't come back with like your bones sticking out, but like come back bruised and like enjoy it. Like it'd be tough. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
There you go.
That's the reason we called it tough is like, I think that there is actual, I think it is beneficial for people to be encouraged to be just like, old school definition of manly, like being able to handle a certain bit of pain and even embrace it and admit like, yeah, this is gonna hurt, but like, it's not impacting my quality of life. And this is just for me to show off that like, I can take it.
Yeah. What, you want to talk about the film? So like,
yeah.
One, you guys went to Puerto Rico.
Love it. Yep.
like why'd you pick Puerto Rico? Kind of like what was the
Mhm.
give me the background on the trip, and then maybe we go day by day and like what happened on each day.
Right. Whatever I put out like professionally into the world, I want it to be as unique and genuine to Jonny Goes Hard, Jon Nyberg as possible. Like I want it to really be something that when people watch it or listen to it or see it, they can see like the soul and the heart behind it. And I like being unique. Like I have been all over the world cliff jumping, and I wanted to go somewhere that didn't have a lot of known spots. Obviously, if you're in the community, just over time, you kind of build up a knowledge of like good places around the world to go cliff jumping. Puerto Rico is not really on that list. But I had seen for years, like I'll just, whenever I'm bored, a lot of cliff jumpers do this. They'll get on Google Maps and you just like scroll coastlines or rivers and just like look for cool spots. And Puerto Rico is a place that I personally had like always looked at and was like, oh, this is cool. It helps that it's a U.S. territory, so I could get people to go that didn't have passports. That was another big part of it. But yeah, so I wanted to go be like the first people to death dive a place. Like we could say like, this is the first time that someone has stood on this cliff and done a death dive. It's just a little pride thing for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we went out for that reason. And it also too was to show like, again, like the behind the scenes of what it actually looks like. It's not like we all just roll up to a cliff, instantly start jumping, get a bunch of footage and leave. Like there's a really big process. And I wanted to highlight like the real dangers of it. When you watch the documentary, obviously like we go to some spots on the beach, but not like sandy beach, like rocky, cliffy beach. And like people got pretty banged up. I got pretty banged up.
Yeah.
Like there's coral and the waves are coming in and out. And it definitely isn't something that like every kid that watches this should be like, I'm going to go do that same thing. Yeah. But I wanted to emphasize that like there's levels to this, just like there's levels to any sport. And like, just because a kid watches Tony Hawk do a 900 doesn't mean that like you should go to your local skate park and like start trying to whip the same thing. But like, but I think a lot of people's complaints about death diving stem from like, my son's going to watch someone do a 100-foot death dive and then go try it.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make a documentary that was like, hey, like, yeah, there are athletes that can handle that, but like it's a sport and they've trained for that. And it's okay for your son to go try it off a 10-foot, place into a pool. And again, in the documentary, in this video, actually, it's like, I show that like you can have just as much fun doing this at like a low, safe space until you're confident and you've trained yourself enough to take it bigger.
Well, even in the video, like some of the athletes are basically like carrying themselves out by like Gavin will jump one cliff, but other people won't based on like people's skill levels. So I think there's like an interesting level of like self-responsibility, acknowledgement of like, hey, I'm at my level. I'm pushing, like, that tagline, push your limits.
Right.
Like, know where your limits are, push them, and don't be afraid of that. But don't also like, don't just jump over onto like,
it's
some
like
crazy rock face.
Like if you're lifting weights and like you want to get a bigger, max on bench, like if you're trying to hit 300 pounds and you can right now bench 200, it's probably better to go from 200 to 210, not 200 to 290.
Yeah.
Like
you definitely is better.
Right.
It's not probably.
I mean, over time, I get the torn muscle thing, but like you said,
you'd be smashed by your barbell. It's like, oh no.
But definitely like showing people the excitement of it, the community of it, but also like the risk and reward. Because again, one of the big parts of the video and kind of a lot of the drama that naturally occurred, like wasn't manufactured for the video, but was like, we found a lot of terrible cliffs, like a lot of places that looked great on Google Maps. And then we showed up and the water's too shallow or the tide is too, the current's too dangerous to get in. And like, that sucks. Cause like everyone has taken time off work and, paused their lives to go on this trip. And like, everyone's really excited to do cool tricks. You want to show off for your friends and for the documentary. But yeah, it was really cool that I feel like the documentary really encapsulates like the full, like start to finish, what it looks like to be in the death diving community. Like this is a realistic view of like, if you want to do this, this is what it looks like. This is how to do it. This is how to get into it. And also like, here's some, just like some basic tips to.
So let's talk about the video in a second. But before we do that, what is like, if someone's scouting a new cliff for like, hey, let's open a spot, whatever, Like what are the 3 to 5 criteria you're looking for when you're trying to be like, hey, is this jumpable? And then it also is like, can I actually do odds on this?
Yeah. Luckily with death diving, that's the type of diving that takes like the least amount of depth for it to be safe, because your whole body hits the water. You know, like you usually land on your feet and you want to be tight and that shoots you down. But with death diving, your whole body's hitting at once. So it really cuts like the safe depth by half. Again, that's assuming you know how to properly death dive.
Yeah.
But if you do, you need about, I would say ideally 10 feet is like the minimum depth. People like Gavin and myself have done less, but again, like we know exactly what we're doing.
That last one was 7, right?
Yeah,
like the
yeah,
last
it was
one
like
that
seven or 8 feet. And again, like if you know what you're doing and you know how to, when you hit the water, you kind of let your hands kind of feel for the bottom, and as your hands hit the bottom, you sink in.
Yeah.
But yeah, regardless, 10 feet is usually what I would say is like the minimum safe depth for death diving. From like anything above like 20 to 25 feet, which again, cliffs lower than that are cool and they're good for learning and training on. But like when you're at the level that most of the people on the trip were, we're looking for like 35 foot plus.
So you're looking basically like a depth in the water of like half the distance of the cliff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so that's like the ratio that you'd be looking at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I had to put into a ratio, I would say that like if the water depth is half of the height of the cliff, it'll always be safe.
Maybe do more.
I mean, like
depending on how good you are.
I really do think, because like if it's 60 feet and you got 30 feet, you're fine. No one's going 30 feet deep, no matter how you land.
Okay,
that would be crazy if you went 30 feet under.
How does that compare to just normal cliff diving?
I've seen some of my buddies who are like, it's called ripping, like when you hit the water and there's no splash.
Yeah.
Some of my buddies who can like really rip have gotten shot down. They've told me like 18 to 20 feet, like to the point where like their ears suddenly have to pop. Again, I do not rip when I land on my feet, so I have no idea. But yeah, and you can look.
Don't even land on my feet.
Yeah, I don't land on my feet anyways. But yeah. So, but back to the actual criteria. You're going to a cliff. You want to make sure it's deep enough. If it's in the ocean, you obviously need to gauge the waves coming in and out to make sure that like when the waves are at, or like when the water's at its shallowest, it's still safe. And then you're also looking for like an exit route. Like you can't jump off a cliff if there's like sheer, face climb outs. But that's generally the main criteria. And before we jump any spot that hasn't been jumped before, you get in the water. Even if you know for a fact it's 100 feet deep, you still always get in the water. You swim around the landing zone, you swim down. And again, then you get out, you go tell your buddies like, hey, this is how deep it is. Any notes about like there's a rock on this side, so we need to jump to the other side.
Yeah.
But yeah, depth checking is really important.
So one of the things that I think I didn't see in here, and I was actually left wondering, was when you guys are jumping the last cliff, it's not super clear. It's like pretty high up. It seems like there's like a big arch, and it's not clear how you'd get back up on it. So like people are like setting it, and I'm like, I know they're getting up somehow. I have no idea how.
But how? Yeah.
But you guys, when you do that, do you walk down? When you say get in the water, do you walk down, or do you just jump in?
No.
Or do you walk down? And so you basically are reverse do it, like you're reverse engineering.
You walk down to find the exit zone, and like if you find a good exit zone that you can get back out at, then you jump in from that point, swim over to the spot, check it out, and then swim back to the exit.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that's what I was figuring, but I was like,
again, I'm a Texas boy. I am not used to ocean currents. That's why we had like Sayla Brooks come out. She's a really experienced, I almost said snowboarder, which she is now, but surfer. Like she's really comfortable in water like that.
Yep.
So she kind of gave us some tips too about like, hey, like. One of the big things was like, don't freak out if like you're not in the same spot you were when the waves are coming in and out. Just kind of, stay calm, which is a big thing in general in any, dangerous situations. Like stay calm, deep breaths, check your surroundings. But it was a new experience for me, was getting out. And that was where a lot of people got banged up, is you would be, the waves are coming up and down. Yeah. So you're the cliff, or the exit point is 2 feet under the water. And then suddenly the water drops, and then the exit point is 4 feet above you. And if you're halfway on and off and the waves drop, you're just going to get dropped onto
or you get smashed into it.
That's what happened to me. Yeah. I got lifted up and thrown onto it. And again, there's barnacles everywhere, so we're getting chopped up. It was like, again, it was at the limit of what I would consider like a crazy, but still like safe amount of like danger. But yeah, there were a couple people that got pretty banged up,
Yeah.
myself included.
Did you have a favorite? You wanna watch this video? Real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah, let's watch
so this
it.
This is a video kind of from the middle of the film where
We are at
it's
a cool little spot.
Great freeze frame on Johnny's face right
Oh
there.
yeah.
Cool little spot in the middle of a jungle, so no rip currents. or
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
like
no
that.
rip currents.
But basically walking through like a chill sesh
Mhm.
where you can also like demo a whole bunch of starter
Basics.
death,
Yeah,
basic
yeah.
death diving techniques.
Yeah.
So even though some of the psychopaths just decided to jump off the sheer cliff face, insane. But the rest of us are just seshing this little cliff. I think it's a perfect moment to demonstrate the 3 basic types of death diving. This is a shrimp, kind of looks like a shrimp when you fold in half. This is how most people land when they death dive. And this is Asbjorg, 3-time world champion. We have Mike does flips over there demonstrating the crusher. That's the second most common type of landing. You land with your forearms and your shins together. Next up, we have Jake with the no-hander.
He had never done a no-hander before. I thought he knew.
Not
it looks
bad.
great,
Don't
though.
do that above
bad.
35
Yeah.
feet, kids, because you
Great
can get concussed. But that's the gnarliest type of death diving landing. You just put your head down to your knees and just hit the water like that. Those are the 3 basic ways to death dive. And if you're ever trying to learn, this is a pretty good height cliff to do it from. It doesn't always have to be big for it to be fun.
This spot was so great. And that guy was awesome. He was a local.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just was jumping off. Ben is also from Texas originally.
We're just gonna slowly add Texas
It's-
people
I-
throughout
it's
the rest
like
of the
half the
podcast. So if we
community.
missed you, we'll get you by the end of the show.
It's definitely like a personal pride point
Yeah.
for me. Cole's awesome. He got banged up on the cliff.
drone shot. So
Boom. But yeah,
dope. That seems like just like a fun like afternoon hang.
it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. The water was like really cold, but it was so hot out. Like it was that perfect like combination.
Yeah.
It felt incredible. And like again, we were all hoping to see like a 40, 50 foot cliff, but after it turned out it was like the smaller ones was like 5, 10 feet, and then the other
Yeah.
one was like 20, 25. That's when I was like, oh, this is a good
Demo
place
spot.
to like demo. Cause like there are times there's a cliff that I love to go to, and it's like 20 feet. And it's like, sometimes I don't want to go do like the craziest thing I can. Sometimes I just want
Yeah.
to go like chill.
Yeah, because like we did we have some footage somewhere of you came down through
Mhm.
and we jumped like the bridge that shall not be named. Can
Right,
we
right.
say that? I don't know.
Red Bridge. It's okay.
no.
Yeah, no.
Can we?
I dropped it.
Oh, there we
We
go.
had to bleep it out.
Yeah, so many bleeps. Sorry, Justin.
My mom's gonna think I'm cussing a lot.
Yeah.
It's like I'm just
like no, I'm just referencing
I'm
things.
just saying stuff I shouldn't.
No, it's fine. But we were jumping there, and we did like a half dozen jumps, not even
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And by the end of it, it's like everybody's
Little
just
banged up.
little smoke. So
Yeah.
you got to be careful. How many?
And in like
How-
a usual sesh, how many
Yeah,
times
how many
do I
jumps
jump?
do you think you could do
So-
before getting like, oh, I'm gonna be hurting tomorrow?
If let's say we're doing like a 10 meter session, that's like competition height 33 to 35 feet, and that's like for me, and I feel like for most death divers, like maybe not ideal, but it's definitely the most fun. You get
Yeah.
enough airtime to look cool, but the impact is not like gonna ring your bell.
Yeah.
I've probably the most times I've jumped in like a day at like a sesh like that has been like 25 or 30.
Okay.
But like that at the end of the day, like it's got to be like ice bath, like relax. Yeah. Usually I would say like
What type of landings are you doing with all those?
shrimp.
Yeah,
Usually, yeah, shrimp. And then like at the end when I know I'm about to be done, I'll do like a crusher or two, just like
Yeah.
But I especially now have like stopped doing no handers except in competition.
Okay.
They don't hurt me at all. I've never like come out dizzy or anything, but I don't want to risk that happening.
Yeah.
So I save that for actual competition. But yeah, I would say generally a sesh for death diving is going to be like 8 to 12 jumps. If I'm like training, like actually like working on a new trick, I'll do more. But yeah, if it's just like get the homies together, gonna go jump, maybe try something new, but like it's more just like get some content and have fun, like 8 to 12 jumps.
When you're not, so obviously one of the toughest parts about actually training is you're going to wear out sometimes before you can do all the things you want to do. If you're doing like aerial stuff, you guys just do trampoline park training.
Yep.
Like what other spots do you do to like work on some of that other stuff?
I would say like the ideal death diving training regimen, which I'm actually for the next 6 weeks before I go on this this big trip that's going to have a bunch of like 20-meter plus death dives. Like I'm really trying to push my limits and just get bigger stuff under my belt. But like an ideal death diving, like if you want to commit to it and like you're gonna rig and pop off it and like really be an athlete about it, I would say is like 2 to 3 days of like actually like in the gym with weights, like just building up your strength. Yoga every day, like stretching, because again, like to properly shrimp, it helps a lot if you can just touch your toes easily.
Yeah.
And then ideally it would be like 2 to 3 days a week where you're in a gymnasium that has a trampoline into a foam pit. And that's where you really practice your twist and your flips. Obviously it doesn't translate to the exact amount of airtime you're going to have. And you're going up and then down as opposed to down the whole time, but it's the closest you can replicate to that type of movement without hitting the water.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of all encompassed. Like if you could do everything, it'd be make sure you're flexible, make sure you're strong, and then make sure your air awareness is always getting trained.
Yeah. You mentioned this. I don't know if we could pull this up. This is kind of last minute, Justin, but there's if you go to my Twitter, there's a
isn't it X now?
Yeah, Twitter X, whatever.
I miss the bird.
Yeah, Twitter is better, right?
Elon, if you're watching this right now, first off, I need a Cybertruck to give away at the next competition. Secondly, bring the Bluebird back.
Yeah.
No one calls it X.
Well, I don't mind. It just, what do you call it? I X'd later today.
I'm gonna X right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send an X.
I re-X'd. Like I don't know what that is.
Yeah. A re-X.
It just sounds like I'm making bad relationship decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Joel Runyon, Runyon. There's a guy, I sent you this last night. Yeah, there we go. Ken
Storns.
Ken Storns, scroll down, yeah.
The most gnarly
gangster dude.
Like
Ken, I sent you a DM. We're gonna talk that video right there. So there's some guy on Twitter. It's a made up name, so I don't know why I felt like I needed to respond to him. But he's showing Ken's jump, and he's showing Ken throw this rock.
This, by the way, to people watching, is the world record for the highest death dive. It's like 130 something feet, 40 meters.
Yeah, gangster.
Super. And that, like, again, to preface, kids, anyone that's watching this, like, you are not built like him. Do not try this.
Yeah. So
but if you know him though, you know that like this is light work.
Yeah, easy day.
This actually is like a casual Ken Tuesday.
Yeah. So there's the person that tweeted this is like, people don't know about this, the physics, and asking why he threw the rock in before he jumped. It's basically to break the water barrier, as still water surface has the same effect as concrete wall when hitting it from certain heights.
Which is true, but not from the heights that they're jumping from.
And it's also not the reason they throw it.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No.
So do you want to explain? I said this to you. I was like, this guy, I'm mad at. I don't know why I feel need to ask people before I chime back in on Twitter, but I was like, this guy's wrong. And
I think I texted you. I was like, this is the worst explanation.
Yeah.
But you throw an object, a weighted object, usually a rock, off the cliff before you jump, so that you get a visual of what the actual air time is. Because like the more you cliff jump, the more you can kind of like, you just know.
Yeah.
But still, like the air time from 30 feet is different than 50 feet.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously. So you throw the rock and kind of visualize yourself being the rock as it's going down. Like if you're doing a trick with a couple of flips, maybe you're throwing it and you're kind of like thinking, okay, 1 flip, 2 flip, the rock hits and you're like, okay, I need to 1 flip, 2 flip, 3 flip, or whatever.
So you get the beats for whatever
it's literally like setting it's setting the tempo for your trick before you jump. The breaking the water like tension, like technically that is correct. Like the water tension is broken when that rock hits, but in order for it to like the tension to still be broken, you would have to like throw the rock and like
be right in.
Be right in.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of times you'll see it in like Olympic diving, right? They'll have like the bubbles coming up from the pool, or they'll have like the sprinkler shooting in from the side. That is meant to break the water tension, but freestyle cliff jumpers don't have the benefits of that. So we'll sometimes have people.
What's the free fall time on this guy? This is like
that's 40 meters.
4 seconds.
You have to understand, like my highest death dive is barely half.
Yeah,
of this.
just watching the timing of him, like it's like
I think this is probably going to be close to 3, if not a little bit over 3 seconds.
yeah. So he throws it, and then it's
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh wow!
Yeah.
Wow! Yeah.
So that's
So
it's
big.
that guy.
And if you notice, it's like there's ice in the water.
Well, he's also the same guy that did this one super viral.
The axe jump.
Axes
Yes, yeah.
in the ice. He looks like a Viking.
He was just on Naked and Afraid. He like lives in the like northern Scandinavian wilderness with his dog.
Okay.
Works out all the time. Like if there's anyone that like could do this safely, it is this guy. He is the man.
I always laugh when you find people that are specifically built for the thing they're doing. Have you ever watched Alone?
I don't think so.
It's the show where they take 10 people.
It's a survival show.
Yeah, they take 10 people, you give them 10 objects, and then they have to survive as long as they can.
And they don't know if they've won until like they get told,
they don't know.
Right?
Yeah. You just stay out there until you can survive. And so there's a guy, Jordan Jonas, going to do an interview with him at some point, but he was on season 6. And everybody else is like, I gained 20 pounds before this trip, and I'm just going to try to survive and like use as much body fat as possible. And this guy lived in northern Siberia, or like like with Eskimos, and he's like he lived there.
He did the Joe Rogan podcast. Didn't he? Okay, I've seen that episode. Yeah,
and so he did.
He was the one that like actually knew how to hunt.
Yeah, no, he's so good. It was insane. So everybody else is just like, I'm just gonna like try to limit my intake to 2 blueberries a day. I'm gonna just go off my body fat. He kills a spoiler.
Like, I'm gonna go kill an elk.
Yeah, he kills like a moose.
Yeah,
like week 1,
and he's got enough food for like the rest of the year.
Yeah, and the rest of his time he's doing like a fashion show, because you have to film yourself. So he's like, I'm bored. I got enough meat. There's like a fashion show with all the animals he killed. He's like a Wolverine, try to raid all of his food. So he just casually kills a Wolverine in the middle of the episode.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that was tough. Oh, I guess I'll just go back to...
And he's like, more meat.
Yeah. He's like, I have too much meat. And then he's like, at one point he's like, oh, I'm getting sick because my meat is too lean. Like he's like, I don't have enough fat on the meat. So I have to go get more fish. And then he just sews a net, and then he goes... Yeah. And I feel so bad because the other episodes...
Everyone's like suffering.
Everybody's suffering. Everybody's dying. And these other people on season 6 would have done well, but they were just going against him. And he's like, he made it like 75 days.
Yeah.
And he was
chilling too.
He was chilling. He was planning on being like, I'll be out here 6 months. I don't care.
Yeah.
And
everyone else is like, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
3 weeks?
And he's 75 days in, and his wife shows up, I think, off the plane or whatever. He's like, oh, I guess I'll come home.
Yeah. I guess
you want to come here?
That's crazy.
But
Ken is definitely like the death diving version of that guy, though.
He's just like embodies that.
And it helps. Yeah. Norwegians, what I have found out, like the Viking blood is still like runs very thick in like all their veins.
Yeah.
And like every Norwegian is just like pretty badass.
So do you want to talk? Let's talk about a couple of people. So like,
I love talking about my friends.
I'm gonna screw your name up. Asbjorg. Oh, yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that was actually really good.
Asbjorg.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's one of the. She was in the first video that we showed.
Yes. Both actually. She demonstrated the shrimp in the second one. Yeah. She's incredible.
And so let's talk about her for a second. So she's like a world record holder for.
She has the highest. I think not even just like men versus women. She has the highest 720 in the world, which is a double spin to a death dive. She holds the world record for the highest. She also holds the clears every other woman for like the world's highest death dive. It's like 101 feet.
Yeah.
And like she also has done the only people in the U.S. that have done over 100-foot death dives are all Norwegian.
Can we find that? Is it going to be on her page or?
Yeah. If you go to her TikTok, it'll probably be the one to do.
TikTok's on.
And I have permission from her to use all of these clips. ASBJO.
Yep.
Top
there you
one.
Go.
Look at that, Asbjorg. You're on Google. Yeah. Everything. Yeah, she's so sick. Oh, what?
Something went wrong.
No.
You just got to refresh that sometimes. Yeah.
There we go.
So probably that first? Is that
Yeah,
a
it's gonna
first
be the
one,
first
or-
one for sure. Yeah, this is the world's highest 720. It's
Is that the one?
yeah, this
You
I
think
mean this
so?
is one of them. This is case in point for sure.
I thought it was a cliff. That looks like a platform.
This is the 720. The
Okay.
like yeah, which it's still incredibly impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah.
And where is that at?
That's
how,
in Norway.
How high is that?
I think 21, 22. No. I think it's bigger actually. I think it's 24 meters. Thinking like 75, 80 feet ish.
First comment: did she live?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Don't jump to conclusions, me. That's funny. That's
This video
good.
got like 80 million
Yeah,
views.
jeez, girl.
Yeah. Good for her.
Is the next one of the next two? I think is one of her records.
Yeah, I mean
We
that
could-
one's a record. This one is her calendar. She did like
Okay.
like every day she jumped like
What's the next one? The third
I think that's snowboarding.
one? Okay.
She's kind of like Ryan Bean-esque.
Yeah.
She's like super athletic, good at a bunch, and she also like grew up doing like power tumbling and
Yeah.
gymnastics. So
She's like super carefree too. She's like, oh yeah, just
just
let me send this ridiculous.
she's just like always happy to be around and part of the crew, and like she is like super humble. So like
Yeah.
you would never
Yeah, no big deal.
Oh. I've never
Just keeps getting back up.
She's so tough. That's kind of a theme with death divers.
There you go.
Yeah. Ooh.
Oh,
It's almost like she needs to like finish the 180 out of it, which is probably what she's trying to do.
yeah.
Like I like can't critique her because she's better than me.
Well, this is like one of those ones where you're like, oh, I could totally do better, and you're like eating popcorn.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah. We're sitting here in a podcast studio, like
yeah. If you
it
could just
could've been better.
just land it.
Yeah.
I don't know why she didn't just land it.
But yeah, she's great.
Yeah. So we mentioned a bunch of people. Who haven't we mentioned yet?
Like that's from the video or like Norwegians.
Let's get through the video, people.
Okay.
So we named a bunch of
Bunch of the Texans.
Yeah.
Sean is from Montana.
Yep.
Which he represents the entirety of the death diving community in Montana. It's just him.
It's just
I think it's
he's the guy on the cover of the thumbnail poster.
He
so he's jumping in jorts.
which is actually like traditional death diving attire. Like
No, I know it's not.
I'm not joking.
Do we need to come out with like impossible jorts?
It would be so tough if you
literally
did.
just
I would love that.
throwing back to the 90s.
It absolutely.
This is what this is. This is skateboarding in the 90s.
When you go to Norway for like especially World Championships, probably like 80% of the competitors are in jorts.
All right, guys, you heard it here first. Jorts.
I have a
Jorts are coming back.
I have a special pair of jorts for competition season this year. Yeah, like one of my buddies has a sick brand, and he makes like crazy jorts. So I have some jorts ready.
Are they like short jorts?
No, these
Or
are
they're
like below my knees. I wore like Daisy Dukes one year for World Championships, but I realized that no one wants to see that, so
I'm gonna
yeah.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
I'll talk to our clothing manufacturers about jorts.
That'd be awesome though. Get
Just
impossible
like down the leg,
like M over the crotch, just like impossible.
just on the butt.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd wear it.
Impossible. All
But
right.
yeah, jorts. But yeah, Sean.
Just line up all the athletes. Just
Jorts. Yeah. Nah, Sean is like the king of stees. He's also like just always has a good attitude.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
no matter how bummy the spot is, he's like, dude, I'm so glad I'm here right now.
Yeah.
Gavin and Stefan. No, Kellen, Stefan.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking of his
Stefan.
intro. It was so
Kellen,
funny.
we
when
got
he's
your
like,
name
when he's
for
like, it's Steven. Everyone says Stefan, but it's not. It's so funny.
With a PH.
Yeah, but Kellen, Jake, and
Gavin.
Sorry, guys, I know who you are.
It's like I got. The
Yeah,
thumbs up.
you know.
Yeah.
They're great. Gavin's whole thing is like big. He just wants to hit like the biggest death dives he can.
Yeah.
Jake loves the spins. Like he's really good at like 1080s. I think he wants to do a 1440, which is 4 spins.
Okay.
And then Kellen is just down for anything. Like if it's big, he'll jump it. If it's small,
Yeah.
he'll jump it. He just like wants to like be cool, and he is.
I feel like Kellen's got really good like facial composure in air, where he's always like he's
like looking at the camera, but it's always just like
he's always mogging the camera.
Yeah.
Like you're like all right, we get it.
I can't do it.
It's pretty cool. It's
yeah.
pretty cool. You had the one from.
I have a couple that are pretty.
It
there's
was the arms crossed, looking over like.
Hold on, we gotta. this is just me like bragging on myself. It shouldn't be, but pull up my Instagram. My favorite, like,
It's Instagram.
Speaking about mogging,
Jonny Goes Hard.
yeah, no H.
I still can't spell it right, but it's okay.
That's okay. No one can. I can't. Johnny's. One of these. I mean, yeah, my profile picture, the middle one, but like I don't mog, but like I get really intense in the air, like really hyped up, as you can
Yeah.
as you can see.
I
But-
thought the one of we got a video of
At
it somewhere,
Chattanooga,
or you're laying out with your elbows forward and you're just like
I'm just
fully
looking at the
extended.
judges. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. That's from Puerto Rico. That's
Yeah.
a crazy shot. I had to actually.
neck broken. Yeah, it's painful.
Oh yeah,
That was sick. That
yeah,
was good.
yeah. I
Yeah,
definitely.
we pulled that out. I don't know if it looks as cool in the logo format, but we tried to do like the Air Jordan thing.
No, yeah.
That looks sick though.
I'm so glad that like I'm not like I don't look corny when I because some
There
people
you
like steez is like a real thing that some people are more blessed with than others.
Yeah.
Steez, for those who have never heard that before, is like your ability to make really difficult stuff look easy and cool at the same time. And like I definitely had to learn it a lot because some people are just like Kellen and Sean are just like naturally steezy. Like they don't have to try and they just look awesome.
Yeah.
But
Gavin had that one slow-mo at the end of the film where he's like,
Gavin just looks so powerful.
and he's like bored. He's like, I guess I'm jumping 40 feet. No big deal.
He's like, I wish this was 100 right now.
Yeah. I guess this is low for me.
Yeah, he's like, whatever. Water's 6 feet deep. I wish there was more of a challenge.
That's fun.
But yeah, no, the ability to like keep your face in like a cool position definitely helps in death diving. Because a lot of times you're staring at the judges during competitions, so you don't want to like look. Have you seen pictures of like high divers and they're like tucked into the ball and like their eyes are like. They look like they're going through like G-force, which they kind of are.
But there's like sometimes when you're performing, you get a bad angle. Like there's a Beyonce photo that they try to take off the internet where she's like really into a dance move, and they took out just like a still shot. And
she probably just looks horrible.
It's a terrible look for her, and they like nuked it. Now we're gonna get a podcast canceled because of it. But they literally nuked the photo off the internet. You couldn't find it, and then like Reddit is like, okay, our only mission is to keep this alive.
Yeah, you can't get stuff off the internet.
So who else was on the trip that we got? Like we got all the Texas guys. We had Matt.
We talked about Ben for a second, but Ben was there. He's awesome.
Wilson
won the competition I hosted. He was the winner of the first like official death diving comp.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Faux pas.
It's allergies, not COVID.
Just really emotional about that.
Yeah,
just thinking back to
I
the
love
first.
him so much. It is. I get hit with nostalgia. I'm a nostalgic person. I love.
Oh, yeah.
But who else? Golly, anyone who I don't mention is gonna like watch this and be like, I can't believe that.
No, I'm going through it. Like, actually, you could pull up the. Can you pull up the video? The trailer, because we've got the athletes at the end.
The trailer or the actual film?
Documentary. If you go to the documentary and you go to the last,
like.
Yeah, the second video in line.
Right there.
Perfect. Yeah, click there, and then probably 90% through. Yeah, there. A little farther.
Oh, look at that! You tagged everything, or not tagged it, but put it in. Oh, credits.
Yeah, right there. And then there's gonna be a athletes featured.
Shout out
Aaron, crushed it.
Okay,
right
wait, pause.
Oh.
Ah! Did we mention everybody?
Yeah, okay.
Wait, we might have already done it. I think we did it.
We Cole.
Everyone on this one is mentioned.
Cole.
He filmed. He did some death dives.
Mike does flips. Michael. Okay. Yeah. Sayla, Wilson, Gavin, Asbor, Kellen, Jake, Sean.
Yeah.
And then shout out to Dylan.
Shout out to Dylan. Shout out to Lefty. Lefty's girlfriend who came.
Yep.
Chelsea. She was awesome.
Yep.
She could speak Spanish, which is huge. Yeah. So we had a translator.
Wilson's wife.
Yeah, Wilson's girl was there, Alexa.
Yeah.
My
your
wife. Yeah. Of course, shout out Mrs. Goes Hard, Jade.
Anybody else? Any other photographers?
We had Dylan Schwartz there, who was just down for anything. Great guy. Cole and Aaron. That was the team.
And then the other YouTube
and then
guy that
for a little bit,
sort of kind of name. Yeah.
Zealous. Matthew is his actual name, but yeah, him and his crew came out. They had brought me out to do like a separate video, and they needed like a conclusion to it. And I was like, well, if his whole thing was like training from like I learned from like a world-class death diver how to death dive.
Yeah.
And yeah, he needed like a conclusion to that video. So I was like, well, if you want to like come get some cool shots, and I think in exchange for him coming, I think got some drone footage from the guy that he brought out. But his whole team is great.
Dope.
But yeah, and that video did numbers on YouTube. But that I did the math on like how many videos that like I'm the coach or like the sensei that like have gone. I think I've brought like 10 to 15 million views to other people's pages, and like I'm still sitting at like under 10,000 followers, and like
get those numbers up.
I know. I just don't care about social media enough to like. I don't know. I would rather make content for other people and just like do my own thing.
Yeah.
But it also like I don't think that like fame would be good for me. I'm like I grew up like I grew up pretty like awkward and like bullied, and not like poor me, like a little bit of bullying is good for people. Sorry.
You act like you're not awkward, or we're not going to bully you.
Not as much.
I'll bully you right now.
You can, but I'm also more confident. I have more stuff that like makes me, especially like being married.
We don't know why.
Being married, it's like at the end of the day, the whole world could hate me, but like my wife loves me. So like you know.
Awesome. That's good.
Yeah. Plus, you know me, I'm a Christian. It's like Jesus loves me. So like I don't care. The whole world could hate me.
Jesus
like
loves you.
Yeah,
You're
Jesus loves everybody. But anywho, I grew up kind of just like shy, awkward, not very confident. And then like obviously like kind of got out, went to college, and just like grew up a little bit. But where was I going with this to begin with? Why were we?
You don't care about social media. But
but like there's definitely a part of me that's like, man, I wish I had hundreds of thousands of followers and like got recognized all the time. But like I know for a fact that at least right now I'm not like emotionally mature enough to not take that to my head and start like feeling like, oh, I'm cool. I think maybe
I'll keep you grounded.
Yeah, no,
you're not that cool.
I agree. Yeah. I think everyone needs friends though that can like reality check them. For some context for those listening, like whenever I'm not death diving, I'm a DJ, right? So like generally the people I'm around are like.
You're like, listen, I don't want to be famous, but I will do this like extreme sport. I will DJ. I will travel. I'm gonna make some documentaries in my free time, but I don't want people to watch them.
No, I want people to watch them, but I want people to watch them on Impossible's.
Yeah. This is like comics in town. Sometimes they're like, listen, man, I don't know why everybody else is getting stage time. I should be getting stage time. I should be the guy. But you're like, okay, do you want to like talk about it or like promote yourself? No, man. That's lame. No, man, I'm not gonna do that. And you're like, you just want to be famous, but
I don't need it. I've got
that's what people. Everybody's like.
But I actually I have like plenty of ways of making income to where like it's not like if my reels don't get plays, like I'm not gonna be able to eat. I've got my basics covered. So like anything that comes from this is just extra.
Yeah.
And I think that until I am seriously, I think until I have emotionally matured a little bit more and care a little bit less, I think specifically until I get less jealous seeing my friends blow up, because I shouldn't be. I should be happy for them. But there's definitely times when like I'll see my buddies get a hit video and be like, oh, like it's not, especially too sometimes it's like we all post the same video because we're all in it, and like everyone else's blows up and mine doesn't. I'm like, I don't, and it's instead of it being like I wish my video blew up, I'm thinking I wish theirs didn't, and that's messed up. Yeah, that's not a good thing. So I think until I can get to the point where like I'm just genuinely happy for other people's success, I probably shouldn't like get success of my own, because like if I'm too upset about theirs, like I won't even be able to handle it. But again, I don't know if that came across as just like cringy or legitimately humble.
It's just. I do think there's something funny about like everybody's like, listen, I should be the guy. I should be the guy. Do you want to like promote? No. You should just no.
Yeah. But, which like that, because I think in everyone's head, like the ultimate cool factor is like you don't try, but everyone still is like, he's the guy.
Yeah. So I think there's something about like other people giving like you props that is like,
absolutely.
If you talk yourself up too much, it's like annoying. It's much better to have other people recognize you.
Oh, totally.
But at the same point, sometimes like, if you're not going to advocate for yourself, who else? Like, you're not even going to try. And so I think it's always like, if you let other people's validation determine what you're going to do and not do. I think that's a terrible spot to be in. But there's a difference between going out and trying and doing the things that you want to do, and then also being like, oh yeah, I'm the best, and then and then getting real bitter about it. And you see people get into that. That's not a good spot to be.
There's definitely my favorite type is like the Conor McGregor type, where it's like you are so good that you can be like, I'm the best. And like I definitely, at least like in death diving competitions, like during the moment itself, definitely try to be more of that personality than anything else though. But part of it too is to like, I have been kind of like unofficially given, I always like do the competition like hype speech.
Yeah, you did the hype speech.
Yeah, and like everyone knows like I'm very animated and very passionate, and like that is not me like putting on a show. Like I'm genuinely doing that because it's how I like get the adrenaline out.
Has anyone taken the opposite approach on death diving, where they're just like the
super quiet and chill?
Well, they're just like the unimpressed. They're like doing, crazy tricks, and they just get out of the water. They're like,
I think that anyone that does that like doesn't get scored well.
No.
So yeah, because like.
Again, it would be really funny if they were just like clearly the best, like, but then also like Ryan Bean was just like doing crazy stuff, and then he's just like, which
I do think like I think Ryan would much prefer to do that, but he tries to like get into the spirit of everyone else. But like Ryan is just so humble that like he'll hit like a triple or quadruple flip, and like if other people around him weren't hyping him up, he would just be like, yeah, whatever.
It's like the Jordan when he hit he has one shot where he hits, and it's like his fourth shot in a row, and he just turns around and looks at the camera. He's like,
oh yeah,
like
I thought it was Kobe. Kobe
no, I'm sure Kobe did it also, but I'm pretty sure
every good basketball players like hit a shot and like turned around before it goes in.
Yeah.
I love the videos where like they shoot it and they do that, and then the ball like hits the rim and bounces out.
There's like a bunch of Nick Young photos like that. So, that's fun. Anything else about this? I think
go watch it. Go check it out. I definitely like the whole team put a lot of heart and effort into it, and I'm proud of it, like really proud of it. I'm grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to like make it happen in a much more professional way than I could have by myself. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Well, it's everything that, we're trying to do it impossible. So like you guys are out there pushing your limits. This is, aggressive, new, it's fun, exciting. It's like next time I want to come on the trip. So give me more of a heads up, and then I can, I need to learn to do some flips or something.
You need
some aerial training.
You need to make like an announcement that like Impossible requires like a 3-month notice.
I do. I mean, that's the announcement right here.
Yeah. 3 months or it's already a no.
Yeah. I mean, maybe like small stuff here and there. Yeah. But we're trying to get better with the content schedule, planning stuff out. So you're doing the U.S. circuit this year?
Yes, the DØDS Diving League just announced their circuit.
Yep.
Right now, I think they have one unconfirmed date in California and then a confirmed date in Florida. I think in addition to that, I'm going to be going to a competition in Spain this year. And then it's also tentative that there could be a competition in Chattanooga.
Okay.
So I would like to go to as many as possible.
Yeah.
Again, the kicker with death diving right now is the sport is growing, but it's not at a point yet where it just has like the type of funding that like Red Bull has for their events. And so, or the unnamed brand. So it's hard to get a European-based company to get the logistical stuff they need out to the U.S. to put these events on. But there is definitely growing in the U.S. Like even in the past couple of years, like going to Barton Springs just down the road and like seeing random people trying to death dive. Like when like me and Wilson and Reagan and just like that core group Lefty, like 2 or 3 years ago, which is not that long, but like we would do it and like everyone was like, what the heck? And now people will be like, yeah, I've seen that on the internet.
Well, so funny enough, I think I found out about DØDS maybe like 2 years ago at the Red Bridge.
Okay.
When we were stand-up paddleboarding. One of my buddies had Nick Gray, shout out Nick Gray, had a book launch, and he had like a stand-up paddleboard meetup for his book launch.
Right.
And so we were doing that. We went, on like Barton Creek or whatever, and then we ended up at the Red Bridge. A couple people were jumping it, and then there's a bunch of people that had like the rope swing out, and they're doing crazy stuff. And we're like, this is not. It was like
this isn't like the normal kids jumping off the bridge.
Yeah, this is not normal people. First of all, you have a swing on the bridge. Where'd that come from?
Right.
So we were like, what is this? And then I found out they were
that
doing.
was definitely my group, by the way. Like,
I'm sure it was you guys.
My group, the group, yeah.
But it was the same week that the DØDS thing was out at Lake Travis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think people were just working on some stuff, and so that's when I saw it, and I talked to Travis a little bit, and then we were gonna do something with him. It didn't work out that year, but then we did it the next year, and then that's when we got to meet everybody.
Yeah.
So that's been pretty cool.
Do you remember what like your first reaction to seeing a death dive was in person?
Well, I didn't even know what it was death diving. It was just really cool rope swing,
Right.
crazy stuff. I think when I was at the Chattanooga event, it was just like you're in it. So we had like set up, it was pretty run and gone, and we had like some of our products set up. We were handing a bunch of stuff out, giving a bunch of stuff out to athletes, and then you're just kind of just in it. So I'm running around trying to make sure people got stuff, but then also like paying attention and then trying to get some footage. And I just remembered you doing the hype song or the hype talk, and then just seeing people
do it,
launch themselves off of it. It was like, okay, this is pretty cool. So
I definitely think that anyone who ever has the opportunity to see death diving in person, especially in a competition format, it's super fun. It's I think we still need to figure out how to time it better, because one of the things about death diving competitions oftentimes is how long it takes to do the whole thing. But aside from that, it is so unique, and again, you can feel the energy. Even if you don't know what death diving is, you're not supposed to fall at the water face first, and so people are like, oh wow, this is cool.
Cool. Well, we might have some. I don't know if the background is picking up or not. We might be ending this. We might be winding this up. Do
you want to do the taste test real quick?
So I was thinking we wind this up and then maybe do a taste test. Maybe edit that in or do a separate cut on that.
Yeah.
But if people want to find you, where can they go?
Instagram is my go-to at Jonny Goes Hard with no H. JONNY Goes Hard.
Cool. And if you guys want to watch Tough, the documentary, that is on the Impossible HQ channel. It's at youtube.com/ImpossibleHQ. You can follow me at Joel Runyon on pretty much everything. And then Impossible is either Impossible HQ across most things. And then we're at Impossible on TikTok. If you guys want to push your limits, do something impossible, that's what we are all about.
Hit 'em up. 3 months.
Powered by Impossible Energy. It's a clean energy drink mix. You can check that out as well. We also have a sleep product.
I swear by it.
It's pretty awesome.
I love it.
Helping athletes push their limits, do something impossible. So Jonny, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Super fun, and we'll see you on another episode.
This has been the Impossible.
We're not doing that. We're not calling it.
I'm out.